Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and you know those times when you think you found something great that for some reason nobody else seems to be using? Well, I recently had just such a moment. I weighed up all of the options, saw some potentially awesome synergy, and said to myself, that could be great. What I'm alluding to is a certain build for the recon class. You select the Ross Rifle Mark III, you use the iron sights rather than a scope, and you use the sniper combat role. Because when you put this all together, on paper, it all ties in really nicely. The iron sights on the Ross allow you to use a stripper clip reload, which the mid and long range scopes don't, so you can reload all 5 of your rounds in one go, rather than needing to place them all in individually. On top of that, the iron sights allow you to cycle the next round into the chamber without leaving ADS, meaning you can stay zoomed in on your target or area of interest, and you don't need to break your view of it at all to reload. Then the sniper combat role has the ability to spot targets that you hit. So if you hit a body shot on an enemy, they're now spotted both on the minimap and with a marker over their heads as they move around the map, at least for a short space of time, meaning you can more easily track them and land a follow-up shot to drop them. In theory, this all sounds great to me, and it will genuinely be great for some of you out there. You get that similar feeling of using the Ross in BF1, where I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It can also provide a more run and gun playstyle whilst using a bolt action rifle than with the alternatives. So if you want to get out there and get more involved while using a bolt action, this could be a solid shout for you. Or perhaps you just don't like using scopes. That happens as well. So now you know there's a weapon out there that allows you to use iron sights and has some genuine benefits and synergy to take advantage of. And you know what I found as I was trying out this potentially awesome build? It sucked. Or at least it sucked for me, I should say. I'd recommend just using a sniper with a scope for the vast majority of players out there, as you can now see on screen, or simply use any other weapon type. I think that build I explained could be great, but only for a very specific type of player, and I'm not that player. I'm just not good with it. Granted, I didn't last very long trying this out, at all. It really tried my patience. It's just not for me, and I think it could be a lot better probably when fully upgraded with, say, slings and swivels and machine bolt, allowing you to shoot sooner after sprinting and having a slightly higher rate of fire. And it may possibly be a bit better on PC due to the obvious mouse versus controller comparison, but yeah, for me it just blew weird ass. That's a really strange metaphor. I don't have that written down, but I'm going to leave it in. Yeah, I think a very specific player type could find this to be very effective, or at least could be really fun, because that's obviously an important factor when playing as well. But I'll go through why, even though there's clear synergy for this build, I didn't really like it. So firstly, this is a poor visibility game, or at least the majority of people seem to feel that way. I certainly do, and my issues with that are multiplied by my using an original Xbox One. Yes, it sucks, it's absolutely terrible and I need to upgrade, and my pretty poor eyesight these days doesn't help as well. So I'm not doing myself any favours using iron sights. It's horrendous for me, which means it also will be for some other players out there. But for those who don't have that problem, this build is still on the table as being viable. Then there's that bolt action rifles have a slow time to kill in a fast time to kill game unless you hit a headshot or an already weak enemy. Of course, when you do hit a headshot or a weak enemy, a bolt action rifle feels very powerful, but realistically, compared with other FPS titles or certainly BF1, they aren't powerful overall, and placing those requirements on yourself in order to compete just inflates the difficulty with little reward most of the time, unless you're a superhuman aimbot or just aiming for the head on pieces that much easier. I'm not sure. But as an example of why they can feel weak, self-loading rifles are also in the recon class, and they kill in 2 or 3 shots depending on range. The Selbo 6 and the ZH-29 actually kill in 2 shots at pretty much all ranges, I think, and they fire faster than the Ross, with the Ross firing at 64 rounds per minute, or 75 with machine bolt. The slowest firing SLR in the game is the ZH-29, which fires twice as fast at 150 RPM. Plus, they can also still take advantage of the sniper combat role spotting system. And speaking of spotting, I mentioned that the ROS was great in BF1 even with iron sights. In fact, I preferred it with iron sights in that game, but BF1 allowed you to just manually spot, so it was easier to track your target from the get-go. And not having a 3x scope on a weapon like this in BF5 just sucks for me. I don't use the mid-range scope just to land damage, but also to check areas. Again, I don't find the visibility in this game to be great, so it's a real hindrance being stuck with iron sights. But I felt it worth putting a video out about it anyway for a couple of reasons. One, because it shows I'm not good with everything in the game, and I think it's important to get that out there. It can be very easy to think that content creators or people with a reasonably high level of ability are good with everything, and that playing at that level isn't going to be achievable for the viewer, and that isn't necessarily true. So yeah, there are some things I just don't do well with, and this is one. And then reason number 2 is that this really will be a fun and or effective build for some players out there. I can't really relate to that because I'm bad with it, but I know it's going to be the case. And I hope you enjoyed the video either way. I'm trying to keep putting out different and varied content on Battlefield to keep things interesting for you guys, rather than just news or just tips or whatever all the time. So hopefully that's working. Please feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join my Discord server in the description and my pinned comment. Here's the Board of Awesome for the epic people who support the channel on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and love them all deeply and often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.